Turkey has ramped up inspections at one of its border crossings with Syria in the wake of allegations that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime used chemical weapons in an attack near Damascus that opposition says killed more than 100 people. A chemical, biological, radiation, and nuclear detection team inspected people and luggage entering Turkey through the Silivrioglu border gate in the southern province of Hatay. The increased scrutiny comes after an attack on Wednesday, just outside of Damascus, that opposition forces say bore the signs of chemical weapons. Since there is already a UN investigation team on the ground in Syria looking into possible chemical weapons attacks, the United States, Britain, and France have urged the UN investigators to report from the site of the alleged chemical weapons attack. In Israel, Syria's southern neighbor, Druze residents of the Golan Heights commented on the graphic, unconfirmed footage that has emerged after Wednesday's attack.
Any person with dignity won't accept the scenes that we saw on television. The problem is that the international community is silent, and the international community is giving the green light to Assad to commit such crimes.
Including Suleiman, there are nearly 20,000 Druze residents living in Israel's Golan Heights. They are technically Syrian, but many simply refer to themselves as Arabs of Druze descent and mostly are supportive of the Syrian regime. Further south in Jerusalem, researchers at the Interdisciplinary Center believe that Israel would intervene quickly if Israeli civilians were affected by spillover from chemical weapons in Syria.
Assad will be very careful, as he has been very careful over the last 2.5 years, to avoid any action which could draw Israel and Israeli intervention into the civil war in Syria, because Assad understands were Israel to get involved, that would mean effectively the end of his regime. Israel could finish this war very quickly should it choose to do so, and it's fairly easy to assume that were Israeli civilians to be affected by a spillover from chemical weapons use somewhere close to the southern border, to Syria's southern border with Israel, that would surely be a reason for very rapid Israeli intervention.
Airstrikes back in May on a weapons convoy near the Syrian capital were widely attributed to Israel, leading Assad to warn of retaliation against any future instances of what he called Israeli aggression. The airstrikes came following a number of pronouncements from the Israeli authorities that they would not allow chemical weapons to get into the hands of Lebanese militants Hezbollah, whose members have been openly fighting on Assad's side. The threat of chemical weapons also looms large on the minds of Israelis, with the government distributing gas masks across Israel to guard against the possibility that the Syrian president's stockpile of chemical weapons falls into the wrong hands.